But we're going to discuss the body in maybe a slightly different way than you've heard before. And hopefully the outcome is you're going to see there's a lot of good news about it, all right? So what is the disconnect that's happening right now between people who need help and people who are receiving help? My way of phrasing it is tigers don't eat carrots. Okay, so if we say that people are goats, okay, so what is a goat? A goat is an animal that's generally pretty happy, right? They're pretty easygoing. You give a goat anything, they're going to be really thrilled with it. But the issue is we're not giving things to goats, we're giving things to tigers. So when you have an experience, and we're going to talk about this in depth, where your systems of alert are up-leveled, you're no longer at the activity of a goat, you're at the activity of a tiger. So if you go to a tiger and you say, oh hey, here's this carrot called yoga, here's this cabbage called meditation, it's fabulous, it worked great for me. Well yeah, it works great for the goat, but not for the tiger. And you know, okay, maybe occasionally a tiger will eat a carrot and say, oh yeah, I did like that. So maybe something works for a little while, but then it doesn't, then it stops, okay? And I'll explain why that happens. So you are not dysfunctional. Okay, this is probably the biggest point I have for tonight. You are not dysfunctional. The way that your body is responding, the way your brain is responding, is exactly the way that it is supposed to with the input that it has received. Okay? Dysfunction is not the issue, it's displacement. So if we say that your body is your kingdom, okay, and in your kingdom you have a lot of rooms, and you spend time in these rooms. Now, when we walk from room to room, we leave the last room completely behind. You know, we go completely out of it. We don't think anything of it because we can easily just walk back into it. Now, the rooms in our kingdoms aren't like that. They're linear. Okay, when we step out of one, we can't go backwards in time. We start out in our baby room, then we move on to our toddler room. We can't go back to being a baby. We can act like a baby. We can pretend to be a baby. We can't actually revert back into baby. So then we go through these other rooms in life, right? We have child, teen, adult, and all of these rooms are kind of similar, right? We kind of have an idea of what that next room is going to be like, maybe some little surprises. But then you came to this room called soldier, right? And soldier is very different from the previous room, very, very different. That environment is extremely different. So you kind of go through this portal, and the goat can't really survive in the environment of the room of soldier. So that's when you're up-leveled to tiger. Okay, so you become a tiger within the environment of this room. And that's where you survive, okay? That's where you're able to thrive within that mindset. And then the next room that you're sent to looks a whole lot like all these other rooms. But the issue is you're still a tiger, okay? When you put a tiger in a goat utopia, that's not comfortable for the tiger. The tiger's not gonna be happy there. Okay, it's not going to be happy with the social norms, with the entertainment, with the food. It's not going to be comfortable with, you know, sleeping arrangements. It's not made for the tiger. And the goats don't get it because their rooms weren't really very different. Now, sometimes the goats will say, well, can't you just go back? Can't you just go back to the way it was? And no, you can't because it's linear. They can't go back either. But it wasn't as big of a shift for them, so they don't necessarily have that realization. But that doesn't mean you're dysfunctional. That just means they don't get it, okay? So the way I see it, you have two choices. You're a tiger in a goat utopia. You can try to manage being there as a tiger as well as you can. Or you can find ways to downregulate that tiger back into a goat. So here's an interesting fact about tigers. They like to sleep like 14 hours a day. Okay, that cat's ready for a nap. But the cool thing about it is, once you learn how to downregulate back into that goat, you still have that sleeping tiger. Okay, anytime you need to access that, you can. Okay, that tiger is part of your kingdom. It just needs to be shifted back into its spot where it wants to go nap. Okay? So happy goat, sleeping tiger. So this is where we're going to get into talking about the body, all right? Now, we are energy. This is something we're taught in high school science, right? We talk about how everything, every piece of matter is mostly empty space with just organized energy moving in a specific pattern. But then we go to biology, and all they talk about in biology are these dense organs and these very specific systems that, are tissues and bones, and nothing about energy, but it's very applicable. So that's the space that I'm going to be talking from tonight. And this is very well known through allopathic medicine, through Western medicine. They utilize the energy of the body all the time. That's what EKG, EEG, which is measuring brain, PET scans, MRIs, all of that utilizes the energy of the body, the electromagnetics of us, to be able to take pictures of what's going on inside. So electromagnetic energy is what we run on. That means that we're like a magnet, okay? So we have north and south poles from our head to our feet to each individual cell, okay? North and south, and that's how the energy flows back and forth, okay? So just like we have our physical systems that you're very familiar with, we have energetic systems, okay? And these energetic systems communicate with each other and with the different organs and systems of the body, just like the digestive system assists the skeletal, the muscular, the endocrine system. All of these work together, okay? They're all one big piece of us. I wanted to list all of the 9 systems that I'm familiar with, but we're not going to talk about all of them. I'm not going to go into depth about really any of them, but I am going to talk about meridians, a system called triple warmer, the aura, which the aura is being heavily studied right now in medical science, but they call it the biofield. So if you hear about the biofield of the body, aura was too foo-foo-y for them, so they had to come up with a different name. And the Celtic weave, which actually is associated with the aura or biofield. Okay, so let's talk about some of the properties of energy. So energy loves movement, okay? It wants to be shifting. It wants to be moving around in a pattern. And it holds 2 patterns, okay? Whether it's chaotic or it's succinct. And once it gets into a pattern, it stays there, okay? Even if it's one that isn't necessarily the best one, it's going to stay in that pattern until it's shifted in some way. Energy transforms quite easily, okay, when it's affected by other energy. So if you have this wave going, and you have this other wave, and they start interacting, and then you suddenly have a third thing that really isn't the first wave or the second wave. Now you have this third energy wave happening, okay? All of this is true inside of our bodies as well. And then energy shifts rapidly, and energy is measurable and testable. This is probably one of the coolest things in the modalities that I'm sharing with you tonight, because I'm not the most patient person. I like to see results, okay? And even if that result is 0.5%, I want to know that what I'm doing is getting me to where I'm wanting to go. So I tend to choose modalities that allow that visibility. So, okay, I give myself little quotations here as a hint. I'm going to read some excerpts out of a book that I have here. Highly recommend it. It's kind of a scientific read, but it's a good one on all of this information that I'm discussing. So the body breakdown stems from emotional aspects. So the way that you feel, the way that you think has a huge influence on the body. This book is written by Dawson Church, Dr. Dawson Church. It's called The Genie in Your Genes. Okay, it's won several awards. It's fantastic. And this is the guy, I'll talk about him a little bit more, who's connected with a modality called EFT. So he's talking about stem cells, all right? Stem cells are undifferentiated cells. They're blanks that the body can make into muscle, bone, skin, or any other type of cell. Like a piece of putty, they can be formed into whatever kind of cell the body needs. When you cut your hand and your body needs to repair the break in the skin, the trauma sends a signal to the genes associated with wound healing. These genes express, stimulating the stem cells to turn themselves into healthy, fully functional skin cells, okay? So that's how healing works. And this has been documented in the cerebral cortex, which is the brain, the hippocampus brain, hypothalamus brain, muscle, skin, intestines, bone marrow, liver, and heart. When there is interference with this signal, which in the wound healing studies come from the emotional states of angry subjects. So there was a study done on people who have pervasive anger in their lives. They feel that all the time. The stem cells don't get the message clearly. Not enough putty is turned into useful shapes, or the process of molding the putty takes a long time because the body's energy is instead being sucked away to build the threat response biochemicals that are triggered by the angry emotion. So wound healing is compromised. Notice that these signals do not come from the DNA, they come from outside the cell. Okay, and that's what the study of epigenetics is, a new field of science. They had to name something because of all of these things that they noticed happening in the body. And that's what he's talking about there, is that influences outside of the genes, outside of the cell, are actually what's telling your body how to respond.
So maybe would that be like them coming from your mind and other areas?
Absolutely.
Brain?
Yes. So our brains, have you heard the statistic you only use 3 to 5% of your brain? Okay, that's false. What that statistic is meaning to say is that 3 to 5% of your brain is conscious, okay, that you are navigating. The other 95% is your subconscious, okay? That's what's governing all of the hundreds of thousands of chemical responses that are happening for homeostasis in your body on a second-by-second basis, okay? And that's what governs all of this, okay? Almost all of our body is entirely governed by our unconscious mind. And we're aware of very little pieces of it, but we get hints, okay? It gives us breadcrumbs. And that's one of the things that I'm going to bring up as we go along here. Okay, so these are the tools that before you leave here tonight, you're going to have a little taste of, okay? And I have no idea how these are going to work for you, but I want to give you a very clear understanding of how they work so that you have that option to look into them. I have personally felt a phenomenal difference with each of these. And I didn't mention in the beginning, I meant to. I myself have been diagnosed with complex PTSD. So I am speaking from experience, as I have sought out healing in the body. It has been for, a personal standpoint, but also in realizing in that journey how difficult it was to find answers to, but why is it this way? Why do I feel this way? Why am I responding this way? And then how to actually see some results outside of that. Okay.
Other than drugs.
Yes, other than drugs, which didn't work for me. Okay, so the first tool that I'm going to give you is Eden Energy Medicine. Now, this was created by a woman named Donna Eden and her husband, David Feinstein. Their website is innersource.net. She has a very rich YouTube channel. They've written several books. All of them are fantastic. This is what the 9 energy systems that I showed you, that's what she focuses on, okay? And then adjusting the energy within those systems. The second tool is the Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping, EFT. Is that something that anybody has heard of before? Okay, so this modality has been most largely studied within military personnel. And the reason for that is because of the success rate that it has in completely clearing PTSD permanently in a very short amount of time. And I'll go into that a little bit later. Now, if you go to Google and you type in EFT tapping, you're going to get hundreds, maybe thousands of different options to look at. And that's because the system of EFT is very simple. Okay, but that makes it deceptively seemingly easy, and it's not. Okay, so a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I tried tapping and it but that didn't really work. Okay, that's someone who came across a resource that really wasn't a very clear one. That's why I suggest going to Dr. Dawson Church, PhD, because he's dedicated his life to this modality. Okay, very brilliant man. Know him personally. Gone to his seminar. He is my personal mentor currently. So all of these people I personally vet for. I know Donna Eden and her husband, so I actually know these people. I have personal experience with them. What he did is he standardized EFT. Okay, and he set himself aside by calling it clinical EFT. And then he's run clinical trials the last 15, 20 years. So when you come across a study that says that veterans are 86% cured from PTSD after 6 one-hour sessions from EFT, that's because of him, of this guy. So his website is EFTuniverse.com. Here's a really exciting thing. It is VA approved. Okay, so if you receive this technique, then you can get it paid for if you're on VA insurance. Before that was approved, Dawson started something on his own called stressproject.org. This is for active and veteran military personnel, where you can go and apply and receive 6 sessions of EFT for free. So that resource exists as well. And then the third tool in the tool belt is essential oils. I use doTERRA.com, or doTERRA.com's website, and I'll explain why. I have my own oils group on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you're more than welcome to join. I do weekly posts in there talking about oils. And then we've got 2 locals here that I want you to be aware of. One is Jackie Ardrey. She's behind the camera. I'll talk about her a little bit more. And then Aaron Whitlow, who you're actually going to hear from, and I think everybody already met anyway. He's going to share his experience with the oils. Okay, so let's talk about what is trauma. Okay, this was a huge question of mine. What makes something from being a bad experience to a traumatic one? And the answer for that is when you have an experience that your body, your brain decides we can't survive at this level of function. We have to change. And then there are literal physical, chemical shifts that happen in your body. The pathways in your brain, how you receive information, are different when you've hit trauma as when you're just in a bad experience, and they stay that way. So then my next question was, okay, so what defines a traumatic experience then? And these are the 4 categories that have kind of been put out there as one of these, then that's when that shift happens in your body. So overwhelm to the point of feeling helpless. You have a perceived threat to your physical life. It doesn't have to be an actual threat, but if you have that thought of, oh my gosh, I'm about to die, okay, traumatic. You feel isolated or alone. You have violated expectations of the person or people who are involved in that particular situation. Any one of these will kick you into a traumatic experience. It doesn't have to be all 4. There's a statistic that says 89% of people have had a traumatic experience before the age of 4. Okay? Can you think of anybody who wouldn't have had at least one experience in one of these categories? So I was like, I have to shout it out to the world. Everybody's traumatized. And there's good news. So this shift in our bodies is actually a very positive thing, okay? Because we want this to happen when we're encountering that amount of overwhelm. But it's a short-term solution, okay? And with any short-term solution, when it goes on for a long amount of time, you see chronic issues occur. So this is a rhetorical question. What do wrestling and elevators have in common? Dawson was working with a woman who came to him in her 50s. She had a huge phobia of elevators. She could not even think about looking at elevator doors without her heart rate elevating. Okay, that's how terrified she was of elevators. She'd never had a bad experience in one, which is extremely common for people with phobias. They typically haven't had a bad experience with a thing that they're horribly afraid of. So he begins an EFT protocol with her, and a memory pops up. She said, I don't know why, but I just thought about when I was 3 years old and my brother and I were playing. He's a year older, so a little bit bigger. They start wrestling, okay? This was common for them. They were having fun. And then to win, he pancakes, down on top of her. But he was laying in such a way that he was on top of her lungs and she couldn't breathe in. So what was really fun 2 seconds ago, now to her is feeling deadly. And so she's struggling, and he's just holding tight because he's winning, right? He's not going to let her up. But here she starts thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to die. My brother's going to kill me. Finally, he moves, and she just bursts into sobs. She's devastated that this just happened to her. He doesn't understand what's going on, so he starts chiding her for being a sore loser. Mom comes rushing in. What happened? What went on? And he says, oh, nothing. We were playing around, and now she's being a big crybaby. Mom turns to her and says, okay, now be a big girl. Don't be a crybaby. Okay, so she, at 3 years old, had all 4 of these experiences in that one instance. Okay, now here's what the brain does with that. It doesn't readily switch out of that traumatic level, okay? And then with it staying there for years and years and years, it gets stronger. And then also, it will start to make correlations with things. Okay, well, this was dangerous, so maybe this is also dangerous. And if it scans and doesn't really see anything that correlates, it gets bored. So it will start making inappropriate correlations, which is why wrestling with brother equaled fear of elevators. Once they found this traumatic event for her, he did the EFT protocol. Immediately, they were in a hotel where he was doing this seminar. Immediately, they went to the elevators. She got on, no problem, rode up and down 3 times. Years later, still no problem. Absolutely no anxiety. They broke that trauma loop, released her from that hold of that heightened level of stress, and she was fine immediately.
Through his EFT program that he put her through?
Yes, well, it's a protocol, and it's very fast. It moves very quickly, and that's something that we're going to go through together. So you guys will leave with that. But also, his website is full of lots of information. The stressproject.org, I'll go into this a little bit later too, but like I said, that's mostly military focused. There's military personnel in there that tell their stories. In fact, I'm going to read an excerpt from his book. So that's something that will be very easy for you to correlate with. You know, because even though I have PTSD, I know it's not the same. You know, it's different for every person, different circumstances. So, okay, I have a different excerpt here. And that's not the one. I wrote my page number back here. Okay, 74. Just demonstrating a little bit about thinking here. Okay, what you are thinking, feeling, and believing is changing the genetic expression and chemical composition of your body on a moment-by-moment basis. Cortisol has been shown to reduce muscle mass, increase bone loss and osteoporosis, interfere with the generation of new skin cells, increase fat accumulation around the waist and hips, reduce memory and learning abilities. Okay, so you're at this heightened level of stress, you're reducing your ability to even, learn ways out of it. Over 1,400, so 1,400 chemicals and reactions, over 30 hormones and neurotransmitters shift in response to stressful stimuli. Okay, so when you get stressed, 1,400 reactions to that. So in the reverse of that, by de-stressing ourselves, by using attitude, belief, nurturing, self-talk, spirituality, we are taking a role in determining which instruments in our genetic symphony predominate. So we talked about when you get cut, that those genes are expressed a certain way. When you think in a certain way, okay, you are doing the exact same thing. Okay, you are expressing the exact same way. When you understand that with every feeling and thought and every instant you are performing epigenetic engineering on your own cells, you suddenly have a degree of leverage over your health and happiness that can make a critical difference. How you use that knowledge can determine whether your unique symphony comes to an early and discordant end, or whether you play beautiful music to a long finale. It's a little poetic, but... Okay, so there's a study that was done by neurosurgeon Norman Shealy, and he wrote a book about it, but he did it based off of the work of Dr. Hans-Jürgen Eisnick, who he conducted the study over more than 20 years, over 13,000 European subjects, so huge study. What he found, based on how you think, how you feel, was that, and he categorized people into 4 different groups. 75% of people who die of heart disease, 15% who die of cancer, are members of the Lifelong Anger Club. And another group with lifelong patterns of hopelessness tend to die 35 years younger than those in group 4. 75% of them die of cancer, 15% of heart disease. And there are other studies done on these specific diseases which back up the findings of their studies. So when we talk about, when these 4 things happen, when you feel helpless, how do you tend to feel? Frustrated, angry, right? Perceived threats to your life, stressful, scared, all of these things, it shows up long term, physically.
Because your systems are out of whack.
Yeah, because of the signal that they're receiving. And so that's perfect segue into this. Okay, so let's talk about what exactly happens in the brain, okay, when you get stressed and when you're not stressed. So we're very experiential beings, right? We receive things through our senses. So when we get things through our eyes, our nose, our taste buds, it goes through this pathway in our brain And it goes through a very, very important part called our frontal lobe, okay? This is where our reasoning, our logic is. So when we see something fluttering over in the corner and we jump and we turn, our frontal lobe is the part that signal goes through that says, oh wait, that was just the cat. Okay, so that we know that we don't have to, run into fight or flight mode. We can relax, take a deep breath, go on with our evening. The difference between a downregulated and an upregulated brain is the frontal lobe gets completely skipped. In fact, it not only gets skipped, it gets drained of blood. Because when we are in parasympathetic mode, the body says we need every soldier we've got down to these body parts that we're going to utilize. We're not using logic, we just have to react. We're just reacting right now. And up to 80% of blood that feeds that frontal lobe is drained out within seconds. I've seen a video of it. So the input is now going direct to the subconscious mind, okay, which we don't govern, we don't control. So when you have someone who's over here and you're having a response here and they're saying, God, why can't you? I feel like you can't listen to me. What's going on? Why can't you see? Why don't you understand? Because you're not getting this here. You don't have logic. You're going straight to reaction, okay?
So it causes you to make bad choices?
Skewed choices, yeah, different choices. Because your filter is distorted, yeah, because you're going straight to the parasympathetic response. Okay, and then down here in this this is a very proper drawing of the brain, just to let you know. Down here towards the brainstem, we have the 10th cranial nerve, which is also called the vagus nerve. There's a whole huge scientific theory based off of this one very long nerve. So it's called vagus after vagabond because it's wandering. It's the longest nerve in the entire body, and it is connected to everything, every major system in the body. So it is governed and connected to the subconscious mind, okay, to the limbic part, the limbic system of the brain. So what happens in Vegas goes everywhere. So I want a t-shirt that says that. I'm going to make it at some point. So when you have the stimuli come in, it goes direct to this fear center of the brain, and then it receives the signal to the vagus nerve. That's when you get that clenched gut. Okay, that's when you get that racing heart. That's when you feel like you can't breathe. That is all your vagus nerve responding to something that you aren't even consciously involved in. Okay? So let's do just an example of what's for dinner. So someone who has a downregulated brain, they feel relaxed, they're calm, they start smelling dinner, okay? Their mouth is going to start salivating, their stomach's going to start percolating, and their mind's going to be going, oh, that's my favorite. I'm really excited to taste this, Whereas someone who's in an upregulated mind, okay, none of that matters. When your brain is in stress mode, when you're in survival mode, the only thing that your body is concerned with is survival, nothing having to do with pleasure. So you may not even be hungry. You smell dinner, it doesn't matter. Okay, no response, no excitedness. Or your body may say, okay, we are getting low on glucose, we need that, we need some energy, so maybe some carbohydrates. All right, so I'm gonna go and let's eat 3 pieces of pie, let's have a couple cups of coffee, that's gonna boost up those adrenaline, kicks that we need. Or you're gonna get like 3 or 4 bites into dinner, and maybe it tastes good to start with, and then bam, you hit a wall. You feel like a brick in your stomach. Okay, that is this system saying, that's all we needed, back to work.
So is that why we soldiers just devour?
Yeah, absolutely. And one reason, there are other reasons too, yeah.
Time constraints, are you?
Yeah. Well, and that can also be part of dissociation, which is something that we'll get to here soon. Okay, so the fight, flight, or freeze mode is often kind of lumped all together, like, oh, I'm in a stressful situation, fight, but that's not how it works, okay? They're on different levels. So the first response we have when we're encountering stressful stimuli is to fight. We're gonna stand up for ourselves. Excuse me, could you stop doing that, please? And then we're gonna see if we can reset that boundary, okay? Now, if we try to reset that boundary and it doesn't work, and that person becomes more aggressive or more intimidating, and then we make the decision, okay, if I continue fighting, this is not going to turn out well for me. We get up-leveled to the next area, which is flight, okay? We start backpedaling. Okay, I just wanted to say, all right, okay, and maybe even really legitimately get the heck out of there. But then, if we're stuck, we can't flight, okay, we can't flee, then we up-level to the next one, which is freeze, okay? This is where we go, all right, I'm just gonna make myself as small as possible, as still as possible. I'm just gonna try and survive this because I can't get out of this. And all of the blood in our body starts, fortifying the internal organs of things that we need to survive. The next level up from that is dissociation, okay? That's out of the cup, okay? That's when we're in freeze mode and what's happening is so horrible that our consciousness says it's not safe to be experiencing this anymore. So we're gonna check out. We're not gonna acknowledge that this is happening directly to us, okay? And the energy system that is governing these decisions is called triple warmer, okay? Now, triple warmer is your inner militia, okay? It's what's there for you to save your life, okay? It kicks in, no hesitation, it is there to rescue you. Some of the things that it does is it separates out your systems, okay? So typically, when our body's functioning correctly, everything's kind of talking to each other or working together. When triple warmer comes in, or the parasympathetic system, okay, it separates out the system. Nothing talks to each other. Everything goes through the parasympathetic system first. Everything goes through triple warmer. So you have a lot of dysfunction happening just right there, because everything's segmented. Takes over communication. Keeps the status quo. We're going to go over that in detail on the next page. Okay, and then parasympathetic mode. Okay, so dissociation. A mental process by which a person disconnects from their surroundings, their body, and in severe cases, reality. All right? So this is some of the more common ways that people will engage in dissociation, okay? So addiction, you just completely blase out all of your sensory abilities with whatever choice drug or food or etc. Chronic worrying, because if you're worrying, you're not experiencing the moment, right? Usually when we're worried, we're thinking of something in the future. Even if it's, I'm sitting in my car and I have to go inside, we're still worrying about something in the future. Daydreams. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Hypervigilance, okay? If you're super aware of everything going on around you, your brain is multitasking, right? But you're not here. You're not focused inside of your body. You're not necessarily aware of what's going on to you personally, okay? Flashbacks, zoning out with media, overworking the body. So someone who seems like, man, they're doing really good. They're going to the gym 10 hours a day, and then they're working like 16 hours a day too. Wait, that's too many hours, but they're doing it somehow. That's a form of dissociation. Obsessions, kind of the same thing as overworking the body. Antisocial behavior. So when we're engaging with another person, we have to somewhat be conscious, right? Where we're listening to stimuli, assessing how we feel about it, how we're going to respond to the other person. So then that can become real uncomfortable for someone who's in dissociated behavior. Even a critical inner voice, okay, is something that can happen. You have something going on and you get really frustrated with yourself. Oh my, you're such an idiot. Why is it? You're no longer paying attention to anything that's happening inside or around you, okay? You're also stimulating all of those excited, like norepinephrine and such, which I'll get to in a second. One side of dissociation that I don't hear talked about, but I actually experience more often, so that's kind of the numbing out side. I call this other side Times Square. Okay, so for me, dissociation is more like I'm in a room full of, 700 people, and they're all talking, okay? And they're all talking at me. And this one person is reality. Okay, so I have to focus really hard to listen to what's happening right now in this moment. And I may be standing in a room with one other person, okay, and they're telling me something, and I'm having to focus real hard. And this could be, reading a book, watching a movie, directions. It was so awesome for me when I finally made this link between why my brain just wouldn't remember the locations that I drive to often. Because it's really difficult when you're driving along, it's a 20-minute drive, you've got 4 turns, to try and listen to this one person that in 10 minutes is going to say, turn left. Because I've got all these other voices going on. So it's difficult for me. So noise in your head is also very, very common with dissociation. So we're going along here through life. We have a traumatic event. Bam, upregulated. Okay, so now we're at this new level of stress. This is the level which your body says, this is where we survived. Okay, this is where we were able to get through this. This is our new normal. This is where we have to stay in order to keep surviving. Okay, so what happens is when you start dipping down into relaxing and calming, your body purposefully re-traumatizes you to get you back up to here, because this is where you're safe. Okay? It's a very misguided way that your body is trying to keep you alive. Because again, it doesn't matter, it doesn't care about happy, it doesn't care about healthy, it cares about survival. That's what parasympathetic, that's what triple warmer is set to do, survival. So how does it do this? How does it re-traumatize you to get you back up here? All of these ways. Okay, so zoning out with media. You may find yourself attracted to really violent shows or video games, and it feels good. It feels good to watch these, and you can get really into it. That's your body saying, yes, 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 give me that adrenaline, I want that. That's what's safe. We want to be there. Okay, you have flashbacks. Okay, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden you're pelted with something. It's because you're dripping down, into some goodness here, and your body says, no, you got to be more alert. You got to be more aware. Remember this? And then you're jolted back up to that level, okay? Daydreams. You're having a good daydream about something that goes weird, goes really dark. You're not crazy. That's your body reacting exactly the way it's been told to, okay? That's what's happening. So what do you do about it? How do you break this trauma loop? So the brain loves a habit. Energy stays in a pattern, but it also hates a waste. The brain will start breaking down neurological connections the second it knows that it's no longer going to be utilized, okay? So when it receives new information, it will prioritize that. If you're standing there and you're lost in a thought and someone comes up and touches your arm, all of a sudden you're paying attention because your brain's going, okay, is this a safe touch? Is this someone that's about to punch me? I need to pay attention to this. So it will interrupt whatever loop is happening, receive that new input. So then the question becomes, the new info plus the trauma loop is your new outcome, but are you supporting or challenging the trauma? Okay? So when you're stuck in that dissociative behavior, are you giving it input that supports those stress chemicals being given over and over again, or are you tossing it something to say, I don't know that we need this anymore. I think that this is okay for us to just drop it a little bit. New information alone will shift the brain and the body. So there was a study done on maids. Let me check the page number. Did I write that down? There it is, 66. Okay. At Harvard University, where they wanted to see the difference between physical exertion and physical exertion plus belief. Okay, so they went to a couple hotel chains. They divided these maids into 2 groups. Okay, and one group heard a brief presentation explaining that their work qualifies as good exercise. What they were already doing qualified as a really good day of going to the gym. The other group didn't get that information. Okay. The members of the group that got the information lost, and this was over a period of 30 days, lost an average of 2 pounds, lowered their blood pressure by almost 10%, and displayed drops in body fat percentage, body mass index, and waist to hip ratio. Okay? And that was by doing nothing different. The only thing that changed was that they'd been given the information that what they were already doing was really good for their body. And hearing that, their body said, sweet! Okay, we're exercising, so now when we do this, we're going to drop some cholesterol. Now we're going to drop some fat. They weren't doing anything different. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do, is clap a penny. What does that mean? I'm going to give you a metaphor of using finances. So if you're financially poor, okay, say you're thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, you're really feeling the pressure of this. You're walking along the road, you look down and you see a penny. How do you feel about that penny? Do you look at it and go, who the hell cares? It's a penny. I need thousands of dollars. That's not going to give me anything. Well, your subconscious mind, when it gives you a little breadcrumb, when it gives you a penny, it says, oh, okay, I gave her a penny and she didn't like that. If she didn't like that penny, she's going to hate having a dollar. I'm going to make sure she doesn't see any dollars, okay? So the success to communicating with your subconscious is incremental growth, okay? Your subconscious communicates with you through feelings, all right? So when you hit a barrier, when you hit that point where your subconscious is not comfortable with what's happening, which usually means you're starting to relax, right? That's when you feel irritation, restless, fear, anger, okay? And if you push through that, then what you're doing is poking the tiger, all right? And what you do, if you poke the tiger enough times, you're going to get the teeth, you're going to get the claws, okay? If you say, screw you, I'm going to keep trying to do what I want to do, then it's going to say, all right, buddy, here you go. We'll just see how that works out. I recently encountered a man who I believe was in this space, and he was doing the crosswalk at the airport, and it was late at night. There was hardly anybody out, and he was behaving as if he was directing traffic in the middle of Boston during an earthquake. I mean, he was yelling, he was panicked. He and I had some direct conversation, and I was terrified. I thought, this man is looking for a reason to throw me to the ground, to put me in my place, and feels 100% justified in those feelings, okay? And my thought is, he was poking the tiger. He was not in a position of where he should have been. He just maybe felt he had to be there. Like sometimes we feel we have to go to a social event. Maybe like we have to go to the family barbecue. And maybe when we get there, we're happy for like 10 minutes, right? And then we start feeling restless and irritated and, don't want to be there anymore. Okay? Leave. Don't poke the tiger. Your body is asking you to please listen to this communication. Okay, so incremental growth. So incremental growth, that's not my jive. Okay? I don't know many people that it is, but it's how you gain success through this trauma loop. So let's say today you're at a 10, highest stress level you've got, okay? You take the clap and the pennies, okay? You get that 10 minutes with your family. Instead of judging yourself for leaving the family barbecue, you go for a walk and you say, all right, I'm leaving and I still feel good. Awesome, I did it, okay? Maybe next time you get to stay 12 minutes. Maybe the next time you get to stay 20 minutes before you start feeling that agitation and you gotta leave, all right? So maybe the following week you're at a 9.8, okay? And then at the end of the month you're at a 9.3. 4 months later you're at a 7. And a 7 from a 10, that's a different life, okay? So incremental growth. You gotta listen. You gotta listen to the signals that are being sent to you. You gotta work together with it. Okay. Okay. So going to the specific modalities themselves. Eden Energy Medicine, how is your body communicating? We talked about how the energy can get disrupted, okay? And this particular modality talks about putting those systems that flow back into place, okay? And a lot of times you can feel a physical difference. Not everybody does. Over time, it's definitely noticeable. Some people right away. There were definitely ones that were that way for me. Now, if you look up Donna Eden, she has what's called the daily energy routine, okay, which is 7 or 8 different exercises. Having taught this to hundreds of thousands of people over the last 40 years, she says these are generally the ones that work for everybody. They didn't work for me, okay? They felt draining. And I kept asking why. Why is this? Why is this? Turns out it's because of PTSD and dissociation. Okay, I wasn't ready for all of that. I was poking my tiger, essentially. But these here tend to be gentle enough that is not going to happen. So, is there someone who is willing to come up here? I'm going to have everybody do this, but if I can get one person up here, I want to show you how you can test energy, and then we'll test the energy again after we do these exercises, and we'll see how it's going. It can be anybody. If nobody wants to, that's totally fine. We'll just go through them all, and I just won't show the testing. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll have you stand right here. Okay. So first what I'm going to do is, so me just even touching her, okay, she's starting to feel the communication of my energy, right? I'm just going to see if her energy systems are willing to talk to mine. So I'm going to ask a few questions and see the results of it. So I'm going to have you bring your arm straight up, elbow straight, fingers out, perfect. Okay, now I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure down. I want you to resist, so hold your arm straight. Okay, hold. Okay, and she's nice and strong. I can hold this here, and she's able to hold it no problem. All right, so now I'm going to ask her a question that's yes or no. And what is your name?
Desiree.
Okay, so now will you say, my name is Desiree?
My name is Desiree.
And hold. Okay, and again, nice and strong. Okay, she can hold that no problem. Okay, now will you say, my name is Doorknob?
My name is Doorknob.
Okay, and hold. And now she's fighting me. She's holding it, but she couldn't hold it up. And the reason is because her body knows that's a lie. It knows her name isn't Doorknob. Okay, so her energy is refusing to support that statement. Okay, and that's how we measure the energy within the body. Desiree, now I'm just going to ask if it's okay that I test your energy system. So is it okay if I test your polarity?
Yes.
Okay, and hold. Okay, and you actually don't have to answer out loud. Is it okay if I test, let's see, what else do I have up here? Your central meridian? Hold. Okay, and is it okay if I test your aura? Hold. Okay, so yeah, she's okay with all of that. And Desiree's my aunt, so she knows me. Okay. So for polarity, like I said, you know, top to bottom, north, south. Well, our hands, our fingers, everything has poles. So I'm going to use the poles of my hand to test the poles of her body. So I'm going to hold your arm out again for me. Thank you. And we'll just see if you're on here. Okay, go ahead and hold. Okay, and hold again. Okay, so she's strong both ways. So what that means is her energy is frozen. It's locked in place. So it's not really going anywhere because she's got energy trying to go both directions, which means you're perfect. Thank you for that. Thanks for being the example.
You're welcome.
Okay, the blowout isn't something, oh, sorry, no, I wasn't done with you. For that one particular one. This one is just something that's a good example. There's not really a way to test it. So the hookup is central meridian. Now, going back to polarity for a second. Now, if your poles are out, the communication, if you imagine you're driving a car and you go to turn right, the car turns left, it's going to be extremely disorienting, right? Okay, that's kind of the same thing when our polarity is off. All right, we're going to have that same similar really heavy dysfunction of communication in the body. It makes everything more difficult to talk. And that will happen a lot when triple warmer takes over, right? Because it's scrambling the signals, wants everyone to talk through it. The hookup, central meridian, so meridians are energy pathways in the body. It's kind of like our veins and our arteries are for our blood. The meridians are the channels through which our energy flows. And we've got one straight up the front of our body, straight up the back of our body. When those are energetically disrupted, we feel vulnerable, okay, because we don't have that flow, that shield there, that information running up and down. Okay, so the way I test that's kind of funny. So hold your arm out. I'm going to boop your nose. Boop. Okay, and hold. Okay, and she's actually good on that one. And zip up. Okay, and hold your hand. So the energy is supposed to flow from bottom to top. So the way I'm going to test that is I'm going to challenge it. Draw it down and hold. Okay, she's good on that one too. Okay, and then the Celtic weave is part of the aura, so I'm going to have you bring both arms up. As I said, the biofield, the aura, it surrounds the body. It's kind of like our energetic spacesuit, okay? It is like our energetic skin. It's our first line of defense. So if your aura is out, you're going to feel everything a lot more, okay? Things are going to irritate you. You're going to be like, I don't know why this is bugging me, but oh my gosh. Okay, so drag this down, just checking the field, and hold. And she's out, because she's fighting me, but I'm getting her. Okay. All right, so Desiree, I'm going to have you keep standing up here. The polarity is the only one that not everybody can do, because in getting the energy to switch, you engage that magnetism, okay, in a very kind of funny way. You take a metal that is conductive to that energy, a stainless steel spoon, and you rub it on the bottoms of your feet. Okay, and that attracts that energy down and helps it getting back into the loop in which it's supposed to be going. So I will hand you a spoon and let you do that, and I'll retest you on that. But let's go ahead and do these other exercises all together. So if you'll just stand up where you are, we'll start with the blowout. Now this one is for when you have too much energy, okay? And when we think of too much energy, sometimes we think of just anger, right? When we're exploding. But it can be too much depression. You know, it can be too much grief. You know, anything that feels overwhelming, you can blow out. So I'll demonstrate it first, all right? So blowout, we're gonna do 3 times, twice fast, once slow. It takes a little bit of thought and focus, but as we've learned, that affects how the body responds. So you're gonna focus on that feeling, okay, and just let yourself sink into it. And you're gonna gather it up, and I'll demonstrate it first. And you can gather it from any point. You can just go for, you know, as far as your arms go down, you can go all the way down to your feet. And you're gonna inhale as you're gathering it. So you're gonna hold it here, and then you're gonna blow it out really fast, going shh. So shh. Okay, you're gonna throw it out. Okay? So let's all do it together so no one feels stupid, okay? All right, so whatever, if there's something you want to focus in on, if you just want to try it, that's totally fine, up to you. Okay, but let's go ahead and gather it all up. Inhale. And blow it out. Shh. Okay, one more time fast. Shh. Okay, and then we'll blow out slow, so shh on this one, okay? So inhale. Blow out slow. Shh. That's the end of that one. Does anybody else feel different from that? I just feel like a little more open.
Dizzy.
Dizzy? Yeah. That can happen. Okay, hookup. So this one, like I said, is that meridian that runs up and down. We're going to stick a finger in our belly button. If you're not comfortable in your belly button, go about 1 inch below. And then on your in between your eyebrows. Okay, we're just going to hold this. Be sure you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And what you're doing with this is with your fingers, which, surprise, surprise, are polarized, you're drawing attention to these 2 points and saying, hey, let's get some energy talking in between these two. That's why the test is booping the nose, because it's in between these 2 points. If there's no energy flowing through there, then you know these 2 points are not connected. This is something that's good to do, like I said, if you're feeling vulnerable, it's good for nausea. It can be good for sleep. Especially if you're someone who tends to sleep on your stomach. That can be a sign that you're feeling vulnerable, that you're not willing to expose your belly to the world while you're unconscious, so you flip over.
Matter left or right?
No, not at all. Okay. And a sign for that, when that's hooked up, you might feel like, oh yeah, I feel a little bit more relaxed. You might take a deep breath. You may not feel anything. In that case, you can hold it for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, so the zip up is where we're going to take our polarized hands, and you can rub them together, and that just kind of gets the energy moving and shaking a little bit. Okay, and then we're just going to draw a line up the midpoint of our bodies, up to your nose, because central meridian actually goes in the mouth through to the back of the throat. We're going to do this 3 times, and one more time, and then we're going to turn to our back, and I'll turn around, you guys don't have to. Your sacrum, so your tailbone, we're going to draw up the spine. Okay, so this is the other meridian that completes that circle around your body, and go again to your lip. So we're completing that circuit between these 2 meridians. One more time. Okay. Okay, and then the Celtic weave. So as I said, with the 2 poles, the north and south, the way that energy moves in between those is a figure 8. Okay, so it's not bumping into itself. So it'll move over and over. So just like an infinity symbol. So when the aura is out, we want to put figure 8s back into it. Just get that energy flowing back in the right pattern. So again, I mean, we just did this, but this is a good thing to do before any of these. It just kind of wakes up the energy in the poles that you're going to be using. Okay. So we're going to start by breathing in, bring your arms up, and then we want to get a big cross. So bring your elbows together, and you want to do this slow, especially if you're feeling rushed, especially if you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this, I just want to be through with this. You want to do it slow, okay, because you're communicating with that energy to say, you know what, this is different input. And then you're going to want to bring it down because your aura or your biofield is all the way around your body. So you're going to bring it down, down, down to the feet. And if you're someone who doesn't want to go all the way down to your feet physically, you can just keep drawing your hands and shoot that energy down without actually reaching down, okay? I'm going to bring our arms back up and just kind of drop some of that behind you because we didn't get any figure eights there. You can, figure eight behind you if you want, but it also works with intention, thought to bring the energy down and around. Okay, so let's test Desiree again. We didn't fix your polarity. I will go ahead and retest it just to see if some of that assisted it. I don't think it necessarily will, but I'm always curious. The only other thing she had out was what was it?
The aura.
The aura. Okay, so both hands. Both hands up, okay. Okay, and hold. Okay. Okay, so now she's holding nice and steady. So that worked. That was enough for her. Okay, and then I'm just going to retest your polarity just because now I'm curious, okay? So go ahead and hold. Okay, and again. And that's the way it should be. She's fighting me real hard. Okay, so you want strong, weak. Because if you think of magnets, you put the opposite sides together, they attract, right? You try to do same and same, then you have that fight. So when you're checking polarity, you want strong, weak. So yeah, so that actually worked. No spoon for your feet. Okay, thank you. You can go sit down now. Okay. So this next part, so send the tiger a text. Oh yeah, you can sit down, sorry. What I mean by this is that incremental communication, okay, where you want to talk gently, where you want to listen to what it's telling you. So sleep tends to be a pretty common issue. Nod your head if it's something that you have an issue with. Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. So this next exercise we're going to do, and you can stay sitting. That's what we're going to address here. And I'm going to skip the part of testing someone for it. So just go ahead and kind of focus in on yourself when you think about sleeping, how you feel about it, how you feel right now. Okay, how your body feels right now. How anxious are you? Are you having trouble paying attention? Yeah, just take a quick assessment. Okay. You can just ignore most of these sentences. We're going to start, we're only going to say this top one here. We're going to do different positions with our body, okay? It's called the 4 crosses. So it doesn't matter which one you start with, we're going to change all of them. So you don't have to follow me exactly. We're going to cross our legs, just one over the other, and then cross your arms, and turn your hands towards each other and hold them if you can. If not, you can stay on your shoulders, okay? Now here what we're going to do is we're just going to send the tiger a text, okay, about sleeping. Or we're going to say the ideal where we would like to be with sleep, okay, and that's I sleep deeply and calmly and wake up rested. And you don't have to repeat it, but hold that thought, that sentence in your mind, okay? We're going to take a breath in, out through the mouth. Another breath in. Out through the mouth.